Hi and welcome to today's video. This has come by quite popular request. A number of people constantly ask me what my top book recommendations are in the finance world. So today I've grabbed 5 books. I've really thought this through in quite a lot of detail because I have hundreds of finance books, very specific on different types of finance. So I thought, what would a good range be that everybody, regardless if you are a beginner or an advanced investor, what would be 5 books that I would recommend that every single one of you read? So here they are here, and I'm going to go through them one by one right now. So the first book is called The Richest Man in Babylon, and it's by George Clason. And this book was written a long time ago, early 1900s, and it still stands today as some fantastic lessons. The Richest Man in Babylon, it sold millions of copies of books. And the reason that I would recommend this book to you, I've read this probably 6 or 7 times. I tend to read it every few years, but I remember when I first got started wanting to learn about finance, this book I read about 2 or 3 times just in the first year because it teaches you all sorts of lessons, and it dates back to the days of Babylon, and it shows you that the lessons in this book still apply today. And those lessons are things like not spending every single penny that you earn, teaches you how to save money, how to bring your expenses down, how to use that money, reinvest it, and then to generate more money. So that's just a very simple overview there. This does go into a lot more detail, but it's fascinating because it talks about ancient scrolls, and it has all these lessons and stories of these fictitious characters from the days of Babylon. So this book is actually recommended for beginners right through to advanced investors because of the lessons in here. And there's one lesson that I got from this book that really helped me at the start, and I wish I had read this beforehand, and that was with a property development that I got involved in. So I was going around to the shows and these investment shows, and they talk about all these different types of investment, and someone advised me, Neil, just go for a 5 or 6% investment. If they guarantee the return at that sort of level, that will really set you up. It'll be a fantastic investment because it's safe and conservative. But being young and ambitious, I wanted a faster return. I wanted a larger return. So when someone told me I could get a 12.5% return with almost no risk, I ran to that straight away. And it turned out to be a terrible investment. And this is the reason why sometimes they pay you such high interest rates, because they are high risk. And I lost every single penny that I had invested. So I wish I'd have read this beforehand because it talks about that. It gives stories about this, and I would have learned a lot from it. So don't learn from your own mistakes, learn from my mistakes, learn from this book. So that's book number 1. So book number 2 then, I'm actually going to take this one out. And this is called The Millionaire Fastlane by M.J. DeMarco. Spoken to this guy a couple of times. He lives in Southern California, San Diego. And this was a game-changing book for me when I first read this book. And again, this book will not apply to all of you, but if you are a beginner looking to find your way in the world in terms of money and what you want to do career-wise, finance and things like that, this is a must read, especially if you are an entrepreneur or you want to be an entrepreneur. This probably shaved off 20 years of mistakes for me, this one book alone, because it talks about, and it gives you a formula actually, and this formula is fantastic, but it actually talks about some of the most important concepts for business and income. So for example, he was a limousine driver and he was exchanging his time for money. He got an hourly rate and he was doing okay from it. He was earning a good wage. But he realized from looking at other people and doing studies, very similar to myself, I asked the question about, why is Jeff Bezos the richest man in the world? What's he doing that other people aren't? And of course, he's leveraging technology. He's leveraging employees and all sorts of other things in a business cycle. That's exactly what this is about. It talks about the slow lane, i.e. working a job for your entire life, a low paid job not necessarily, I'm not talking about a high paid job here, but more a low paid job. Very difficult to get ahead. The government doesn't make it easy for you either because they tax you so heavily. They put sales tax on everything. They put fuel tax on top of fuel tax and all these sort of things. It's very hard to get ahead. But this book really teaches you how you can break out of that. So there's a slow lane, a middle lane, and then the fast lane. So really the fast lane is what you see a lot of these big business people, big entrepreneurs doing. And that is to shortcut their time by leveraging other people. And it doesn't mean taking advantage of people or anything like that. It could be, look at this video, for example. I create this video once and it's viewed by tens of thousands of people. Okay, I don't need to sit there and talk to 10,000 people individually because that would not be a good use of my time. So I won't go too detailed into this because it is a fantastic book. I highly recommend that you read it. Again, I'm not affiliated with any of these authors. These are just my personal recommendations to help you out. Hi, if you're enjoying this video so far, would you please do me a quick favor? Just click that like button below. I really appreciate that. Why not subscribe to the channel as well while you're here? I bring you videos like this every single week. Is for any of you who, let's say that you already have some money. So if you're a beginner, this is going to be a waste of time for you, really. If you haven't even got a job or you're looking for ways to start businesses, this isn't for you. This is more for people who have money. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're an employee or you have your own business or whatever, or you're an investor. This is really for you. It teaches you fundamental principles that will shortcut you by 40, 50 years. In fact, I would say some people would still never learn all of the principles in this book in a lifetime. So it really helped me. It stopped me from making a lot of bad investments and from losing a lot of money. So this is The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Fantastic book. He was the mentor to Warren Buffett, who of course is one of the top investors in the world right now. So I highly, highly recommend this book. There's so much wisdom in it, I won't even unpack it. But if you're invested in the stock market, then you have to read this book. I've read it 5, 6 times. It is flagged throughout. It's got, all the pages dog-eared throughout. It's got highlighters and pen marks and notes and all sorts throughout it. Fantastic book. Highly recommend it. The fourth book then is called The Dollar Crisis, and this is by Richard Duncan. Richard Duncan is not a very well-known economist, but I would say he's one of the best economists out there. And the amazing thing about this book, this was written 20 years ago now, and so many of the things are coming to pass right now. And I want to just read something out to you, which I was really, really surprised by when I saw this. He says here, as part of the conclusion, some of the things that will happen: a protectionist backlash against free trade. What have we seen recently? Resulting in a trade war, similar to that which occurred during the Great Depression. A US asset price bubble as interest rates fall toward zero. Incredible. This will drive property prices so high they can't be financed even at very low interest rates. This is similar to what occurred in Japan at the 1980s. Remember, I often talk about Japan. A meltdown in the derivatives market. We haven't seen this come to play yet. And he was talking about 200 trillion back then. And we're talking about 500 or more trillion now. So some of these things haven't come to play yet. A decline in interest rates to 0% or very near to 0%. Wow. This book, I can't even tell you how incredible it is. I have highlighted almost every single page of this book. I've read it twice over. And I think you probably need to read it 3 or 4 times over just to actually grasp all of it. So I highly recommend this. It is an advanced read. It's not for beginners. It's not for intermediates. It is an advanced read. And if you really want to get into macroeconomics and understand everything, and also understand some of the things I talk about a lot, which is the end of the US dollar, which is getting quicker and quicker now. It's coming to us faster and faster. This book will help you to understand that. So that is my 4th book recommendation. And my 5th book recommendation, this isn't just one book actually, it is a load of books. And this is called The Prosperity Bible. This book, nothing to do with the Holy Bible, of course, but this book is a fantastic book. We have authors like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, in my opinion, the greatest self-help book ever written. Benjamin Franklin, James Allen, Wallace D. Wattles, Ernest Holmes, Florence Scovel Shinn. This is just an incredible, incredible book. It's packed full of value. And I would say if you are especially a beginner, you definitely need to read this. Even if you are intermediate or advanced, you definitely need to read this. It's not just about investing from a physical point of view, but also it's the mindset as well. Very similar to Benjamin Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor. There's a lot of mindset. This is just on another level. It is so, so deep. I can't recommend this book enough. And actually, it's not just one book, as I said. It is there are so many books in here. I just named some of them here. So Think and Grow Rich, Acres of Diamonds, A Message to Garcia, As a Man Thinketh, one of my favorite books on mindset, The Science of Getting Rich, Creative Mind and Success, Prosperity, In Tune with the Infinite, The Master Key System, another one of my favorites by Charles Haanel. But it is a big book. I mean, this is a chunky book here, and it's in small print. There's almost 1,300 pages here. So again, that is an enormous book, but I highly recommend you read that. If you just read through these 5 books, your financial education will be higher than most of these economists or some of these professors that teach economics. You will become smarter than many of those, believe me. I've read all of these books many times over, plus hundreds more, which is where my financial education and my education on economics comes from. Many people often say, Neil, where do you get all of this insight and being so accurate on your predictions so often? It's really from reading books like this, combined with reading history books. I love history books, and as I alluded to very recently, I love reading the diaries, the personal diaries of people that went through crises, like people who went through the Great Depression. Reading those diaries is just, there's nothing that can compare, because that can't be faked. The government and the media and things like that, they fake all this stuff all the time. They change history and try and make things out to be very different from what they really were. But when you read diaries and fantastic books like this that have lasted the test of time, this is where you're going to get the best information. So, okay, well, I hope today's video really helped you with your financial education, knowing which books to read. If you'd like to know even more books in terms of what I recommend, I have a huge recommended reading list for different books for all different sectors, from personal development to entrepreneurship, finance, mindset, everything you can think of, really. I've obviously been through this whole process myself, wanting to develop myself to be the best I can possibly be as a human being. If you'd like to read that list, I'll put a link below to the Patreon, and I have a private Patreon community. So many of you I know are already in there. Definitely come and have a look at it, read that list as well, possibly join our forum, get involved with the discussion. I don't think you would regret that. People love that forum. It's got everything in there you could ever want to know about. So that is it for today. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Drop me a comment. What's your favorite finance book? Please let me know. But other than that, take care. God bless. See you next time.